Before we touch a sphere, start with something flatter. Here is a circle in the plane. Think of it as a thin loop of wire with two sides, an outer edge and an inner edge. The question is easy to ask. Can you turn this loop inside out so the inner edge ends up facing outward while it stays a smooth loop the entire way? You are allowed to stretch it and even let it pass through itself, like a ghost. But you may never tear it, and you may never let it form a sharp corner. These are the rules of what topologists call a regular homotopy. To see why this is hard, watch the direction the loop points as you travel around it. Follow this tangent arrow once around the circle. As you go, the arrow itself slowly spins. By the time you return to the start, it has turned through exactly one full revolution. We say the circle has turning number 1. Here is the key fact proved by Whitney and Graustein in 1937. Two loops can be deformed into one another under our rules if and only if they share the same turning number. An inside-out circle is traced the other way, so its turning number is -1, and +1 is not -1. So no smooth deformation can ever turn a circle in the plane inside out. The obstruction is real. So why should a sphere behave any differently from a circle? For a closed curve, the obstruction was the turning number. For a surface, the matching quantity is the degree of its Gauss map, the rule that sends each point to the direction it faces. For an ordinary two-dimensional sphere, every point faces straight outward, so the Gauss map is the identity. Its degree is +1. Now you might guess, as the great Raoul Bott first did, that the inside-out sphere must have degree -1, blocking the eversion, exactly as +1 against -1 blocked the circle. But here is the subtle twist. Turning the sphere inside out flips the outward direction, and it flips the orientation too. The two sign changes cancel, so the inside-out sphere also has degree +1. There is no obstruction, there is only one catch. To get from one to the other, the surface is forced to pass through itself. It becomes an immersion, not an embedding, and a circle of self-intersection can never be avoided. So a circle is trapped by its turning number. You might expect a sphere to be trapped in exactly the same way. In the late 1950s, a young mathematician named Smale studied this very question, one dimension up. He proved something startling. Every way of immersing a two-dimensional sphere in three-dimensional space can be smoothly deformed into every other, passing through itself without ever creasing. The reason is that the obstruction which trapped the circle simply is not there for the sphere. So the ordinary sphere and the inside-out sphere belong to the very same family. The eversion has to exist. His advisor, Raoul Bott, at first insisted the result was obviously wrong. The argument was sound, but the conclusion felt impossible. And here is the strange part. Smale proved that you can turn a sphere inside out, yet his proof showed not a single picture of how. For years, nobody could draw it. For years after Smale's proof, the eversion stayed a phantom, known to exist but unseen. The breakthrough came from Bernard Morin, a French topologist who had been blind since the age of 6. Unable to see the surfaces at all, he understood their twisting by touch and imagination more surely than most of us can on paper. His key idea was the halfway model, a single, highly symmetric surface that sits exactly halfway through the eversion, half inside out. You deform the sphere only as far as this halfway model. A symmetry of the model itself then swaps its inside with its outside, and running the first deformation backward completes the turn. Morin's own halfway model has a fourfold symmetry. A related one built from the Boy surface, an immersed projective plane, carries a threefold symmetry with a single triple point. Here is such a halfway configuration, caught at the symmetric instant where inside and outside meet as equals. Now, at last, the heart of the eversion. We zoom into a band wrapped around the sphere's equator. The poles take care of themselves, so everything difficult happens right here. Watch its two edges, the top in clay, the bottom in cyan. To turn the sphere inside out, these two edges must trade places. Pushing one edge straight past the other would tear a crease, so instead the band bends into a ruled surface, swept by straight lines, that lets the edges pass. At the center of the motion, The surface twists through itself, clay and cyan threading past one another without a single crease. Then the twist unwinds, and the band settles back into a gentle ring. Look at the edges now. Clay and cyan have swapped. What was the top is the bottom, and what faced inward now faces out. The eversion is complete. Knowing the eversion exists is one thing. Watching a beautiful one is another. One family of methods, due to William Thurston, takes any rough motion and adds controlled waves, called corrugations, until every crease is smoothed away. Another approach asks for the most elegant eversion of all, the one that bends the surface as gently as it possibly can. That gentleness is measured by a quantity called the Wilmore energy. Rolling downhill on that energy produces the minimax eversion, the star of a film called the optiverse. Yet no eversion is ever fully tame. A theorem of Banchoff and Max says that every sphere eversion must, at one instant, create a point where 4 sheets cross at once, and that single quadruple point forces the bending energy to climb to at least 16 pi. There is a hard floor on how gentle any eversion of a sphere can be. We began with a circle that could never be turned inside out, trapped forever by a single whole number. 1 dimension higher, that trap springs open. A 2-dimensional sphere, allowed to pass through itself but never to crease, can be turned completely inside out. Stephen Smale proved it could be done before anyone could picture how. And then, one careful construction at a time, mathematicians learned to see it. What looked impossible was only waiting for the right way to look.